Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Police Chief Ron Gascia.
Thank you. And I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. It shows you're interested, it shows you care, it shows that you all realize that we need to do something about this. And we are a police department of 81 sworn people, and yet we can't do this alone. This epidemic snuck up on us, not only as a state, but particularly as a community. It snuck up on us, nobody saw it coming. The legislature didn't see it coming, and now we have to deal with it. On December 3rd, 2010, in Mississippi, a sheriff's deputy was shot and killed by a violently combative drug abuser experiencing drug-induced toxic psychosis. 6 men were required to subdue the 6-foot, 260-pound combative assailant, who not only exhibited bursts of superhuman strength, but also violently broke through the restraints. This assailant was arrested and incarcerated and charged with murder of the deputy. In Mississippi, Sheriff Dickinson noted that one of his deputies was injured when multiple officers struggled with a drug abuser who had hallucinations of the deputies as devils. Another drug-intoxicated abuser developed terrifying hallucinations and repeatedly slit and mutilated his own face and abdomen with a skinning knife. In Bay County, Florida, 7 deputies were needed in order to wrestle and subdue a violently combative drug abuser under the influence of blue silk, a bath salt, into a patrol car. Shackled, he nevertheless proceeded to rip out the patrol car's rear radar unit and antenna with his teeth. In Tennessee, in March of 2011, a drug-intoxicated couple hallucinated they were being burglarized. The delusional couple began shooting, and police were summoned to intervene. Officers found gunshots in the walls of the residence, weapons in every room, and a paranoid parent huddled inside the bathroom with 2 young children and a loaded .357 Magnum. One of the couple told police that intruders were hiding in the walls of their home. In Bangor, Maine, a user of bath salts grabbed an assault rifle and fled his home because he believed that there were people crawling out of his mattress and that they were trying to kill him. In Bangor, Maine, a user of bath salts who entered a local funeral home and was disoriented, and people couldn't understand what he wanted, ran into the street afterwards, and the Bangor police officer who arrived on the scene got out of the cruiser and was immediately approached by the person and got into literally a fisticuffs with him. That person broke off the rear antenna of the patrol car by the antenna, broke out the rear window of the patrol car, and then tried to use the antenna as a weapon against the officer. These are just a few examples of what happens when people are on bath salts. We need to do something about bath salts before this continues to, the use continues to increase. Until this weekend, or until the past couple of days, we, the police department, have not realized any people, have not come into contact with any people directly who were under the age of approximately 27, 28. We just had our first 2 incidents, one person 20 years old, one person 19 years old within the past 2 days. We typically see anywhere from 1 to 3 incidents a day of bath salts use, and we only see the adverse reactions to them. We deal with the worst ones. Hospitals are seeing them every day of people who are self-reporting to them because they feel that they need help. Extreme delusion, extreme psychosis, hallucinations make these drugs very unpredictable. We don't know what we're going to. You, as a community, as citizens in the community, don't know what is going to happen with somebody who's on bath salts. I did have the conversation with Mike Dow a couple of weeks ago, and I made the statement to him that that this particular drug, these particular drugs, we have seen more adverse reactions involving these than we have of all other drugs combined in any given period of time. These drugs are extremely unpredictable. They produce extreme paranoia, and people who come into contact with somebody on bath salts, particularly those who are delusional, they don't know what the response of the person is going to be. You could, or we could, become part of the delusion. Sometimes they speak very rationally, but their actions indicate otherwise. They may have, what we're finding is that they're in tune to person, place, and time. They can carry on conversations, and at the same time, they may be picking at their clothes, trying to remove the cameras that are embedded within their clothing because that are photographing them. That's the paranoia. They believe that people are against them. They believe that people are out to get them. They believe people are out to kill them. This is not a victimless drug. It is not a victimless crime. And we've heard that in the past. We've heard, oh, well, some drugs are victimless. This is not the case with these drugs. These drugs are affecting our community, our police officers, our citizens, and eventually, I can tell you, it will affect some of our youth. That's not to scare anybody. Every illicit drug out there that we know of in this state today started in an adult population and then migrated to our youth. There is no reason to think this is going to be any different. These drugs are not going to go away. They are going to be here. What we need to do is find a way to put a ceiling on them. The other thing that we need to do as a society is find a way to fast-track some of these laws that are out there that are preventing us from acting appropriately. It takes time to put these things through legislation so that the laws can be enacted to ban them. Again, these drugs will spread, and we need to do everything that we can to educate ourselves in order to prevent the spread any more than is absolutely necessary. Why is Bangor a hotspot for these drugs? I can't answer that question. I wish I had an answer for you. I can tell you that this drug is in epidemic proportions, not only in this area, but in other parts of the country, in other states. It has been readily available for quite some time. It's been readily available because it's accessible over the internet. It's been readily accessible because it's been legal. You've been able to buy it in stores until just recently. There are 33 states that now have laws or enacting laws in order to ban it. That means that there are other states out there that have not done that yet, which means it is still readily available and people can buy it and send it up here. It can be purchased over the internet. There are very small penalties for it right now. We're working to fix that. You'll hear more about that before we're done. But the penalties allow for it to be readily available. And it would not previously show up on a urine test. We'll talk a little more about that as we go forward, but when it doesn't show up on a urine test and you're on probation or your job screens you, does urine tests to screen you, and you want to get high, you look for a drug that doesn't show up on a urine test. All of those things combined make this drug prevalent. Why is it in Bangor? We don't know. It seems to be in many places that are rural. It does not appear, and I've talked to many people from outside of the state, it does not appear in some of the most dense communities, some of our metropolitan areas in the country. Worcester, Massachusetts, one of my sergeants talked to somebody in Worcester, police officers in Worcester, Massachusetts, said, "What is that stuff? We haven't seen it." Worcester, Massachusetts, pretty big police department. New York City, seeing it, but not seeing it in the proportions that we're seeing it. So these things are out there. It's not going to change. We're seeing, I told you how many incidents we're seeing. We need to stop that from happening. What types of incidents are the police responding to? I've given you those, at least some examples of those. It's, we don't know what we're going to anymore. When we get a call, we send 2 officers. It's an automatic 2-officer call, and if there are more available, then we will send them, just because of the unpredictability of the drugs. What are the dangers to the citizens, to people here in this who come into contact with them? Victimization due to the paranoia, the delusions, the psychosis, the hallucinations of the user. need to protect yourself, need to be aware of that. And what that means is not being confrontational. It means calling the police and letting us handle it. We've had to train ourselves. We've had to become experts in this very, very quickly. And therefore, we've had to train ourselves and our officers on how to respond to incidents involving people who may be on bath salts. So realize that, again, this is not a victimless crime. These people sometimes, these users sometimes carry guns, and it's because they believe somebody is literally out to get them and is out to kill them. That's their delusion, that's their paranoia, that's their hallucinations, and that's their reality. And you can't change their mind. We can't de-escalate these people from that. I will yield now to the next speaker, at least for the moment.
Thank you. As you can tell by listening to their stories and what is happening on the street, it's happening quickly. It's happening very, very fast. We're trying to get our arms around it, trying to get some information. Why is it hitting Bangor as hard as it is? And at the same time, we also want to learn a little bit about what it does medically, clinically. How does it alter a person's perspective?